Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2. Let me introduce to you probably the least surprising opponent to find here in the Global StarCraft League Finals, a best of 7. And speaking of 7, going for his 7th GSL championship, it is the man, the myth, the Maru. A worthy opponent on the other side, a lot on the line, potentially his last GSL season before his obligatory military service. It is the final boss in the finals. It is Dark. Yes, in my not so humble opinion, the most entertaining player in StarCraft 2, but he has literally the most difficult opponent he could have had. He made his way here, and that should come as no surprise. But for once, it might be a surprise to see Dark on the winning end of things. Starting things off, Maru with what has become the standard, an actual shift in the Terran versus Zerg meta. The 2 racks, the 3-per opener. Beyond has tempered his aggression, and I will credit him with this, as he was the one kind of pioneering it. Of course, he's gonna find a way. Well, he didn't find a way past Dark. He found a way to get Reapers right back in to the metagame, and not just as a token annoyance early on, but instead an actual way of gaining map control that doesn't require you having to cut production for Hellions. So, welcome to the Global StarCraft League Finals. I was so excited, though not too surprised, to see these two here. I hope you enjoy my commentary. I'm going to try to cut down on the fanboying, but, you know, probably not too much. I hope you like, subscribe. Jimmy, it's the GSL. 1,091 likes and we'll cast another series. Well, he lost a Reaper. Stop interrupting me with mistakes, Maru. He got the creep tumor, but losing a Reaper is almost certainly not worth it. Anyways, thank you. I hope you've had a good day so far. And I'll be so bold as to think it's about to get a little bit better. As Dark versus Maru. I do not expect a short series. And I don't expect your... You know, I was about to go into your standard filler platitudes of I don't expect the unexpected. But honestly, Maru is the standard. Dark circumvents the meta, but Maru defines it. So whatever he ends up doing, 1, is now standard. Especially against Dark. And 2, I don't think is going to be like... I doubt we're going to see too many battle cruisers. I doubt we're going to see much battle mech. But plenty of battle for Marines and tanks and whatever follows that up. I don't know how late he's planning on sending things, and of course he doesn't have all the choice in the matter. But kicking things off from the 3-per into the 2 racks medevac timing is the latest evolution of this style. We even have reactored mines on the way. So instead of multiple medevacs opting for the Widow Mines early, trying to undercut, well, it might actually be for a drop. We'll have to see what Maru comes out with. Keeping his options open, and Dark respecting him if there was any player worthy of respect. Double Evolution Chamber is on the way, and Dark is lining up for what could be accused of being a standard macro game. 46, 49, and counting drones. No lair yet, focusing on the 1-1 upgrades. So that means he wants as many units as possible to overrun Maru, and he's going to have an upgrade advantage. Is one of the downsides of going for the 2 barracks early into the 3cc with all this tech. You don't really have the space or the resources to get the engineering base. If you want to maintain map control by following up with more Marines or any sort of drop, well, you simply cannot get engineering bays in a very timely manner, especially compared to when Dark got his evolution chambers. 1-1 starts as Maru boosts into the main. 1, 2, 3 Widowmons. We got 6, 7 kills to start, and he hasn't killed any of the mines. And there's still 1 more, but wait. There's more. Maru trying to slip back in. Dark. He realizes the amount of mining time lost here. Oh, he dodges it with the Spore Crawler. Clever girl. But overall, the mining time losses are quite significant as well, on top of the actual losses. And for Zerg in the early game, that larva management, that ability to keep up production is one of the most important things. Dark loves his macro hatches. He loves constantly... Oh my god, the prairie dog micro here. Oh no, he came back... Oh, alright, will they, won't they? I still think it's gonna fire. Yeah, get some kills, but at the end of the day, will eventually be dealt with. But Maru has kept Dark busy enough that a triple drop, he combined with the first medevac, and Maru easily going to cancel the fourth hatchery here. And in fact, without Banelings and without 1-1, he's going to be hard-pressed to actually deal with this many Marines. Dark does not have enough units here, as he was busy catching up from the Widow Mine pressure. And now, with just one mine on the back, hits a group of the Zerglings there. Not enough to really undercut the whole idea, but enough to keep Dark from chasing him across the map. 1-1 about to finish. Armory has not yet begun, so Dark will maintain an upgrade advantage. He hasn't been able to get too many more drones out, but with those upgrades, he can actually trade quite well with the unupgraded Marines. Down go the two surviving Reapers, but it's actually Maru outflanking Dark here. Still no Banelings on the way, though Baneling speed is about to complete, so I expect it in a few seconds here. He has enough gas. 5, 6, 7 Banelings thrown into production. Another base cut down. Maru, you give him an edge, and he will slice through you with it. And right now, Dark just didn't have the overwhelming number of Zerglings he needed to threaten Maru. Maru stands his ground as long as he can, and then picks up and abandons that ground as quickly as possible when he can't. So far, incredible efficiency. Maru has lost 1/3. Effectively. I guess he lost one medevac, but dozens of Zerglings. And look at the worker count. This is the real result of what Maru's been doing right now. He has kept Dark essentially pinned back, forced to produce units. He's controlled his larva usage, and now he's controlling the map. He's sieging up his tanks right on the doorstep, but the Banelings at the back. 7 SCVs, make that 13. And just like that, Dark is right back in it economically. He does have to deal with this attack. Maru's stepping stone siege tanks here, doing a great job of laying on continued pressure. The Queen's holding the line for now. Plenty of energy for transfuse. A few chew-toy depots will choke things up and make it difficult for the Zerglings to counterattack. Dark is actually supply blocked right now. 108, 107 to 135 supply. The Queen, Brenda, hold! Hold! They try to hold the line. The Queens will actually drive the Marines back, and Dark is clearly trying to wait until those 2-2 upgrades to pick a real fight. But Maru already up 30 supply in game 1. Oh, Dark looking outclassed so far, but he does have 2-2 about to complete. Maru has yet to be able... He canceled the 4th. He's slicing through the Queens. The siege tank's doing a lot of damage. Maru hitting up into the top right. Dark into the 3rd, killing some of the SCVs. They're on the run. A whole lot of Banelings closing the distance, but Dark is about to lose another 4th hatchery, and Maru is continuing his efforts. Burrowed Banelings at the 3rd, going to try to get some damage on the way out as well. The Queen's still holding, but running out of HP and running out of real estate here. Maru's attack continues from the 4th in the top right. The target fire is good, and there's not much to miss. The Queens are all down. Regicide, but at the same time, finally, Maru makes a mistake. The Banelings roll in. He's target fired. Maru on both fronts. And just like that, Maru looks away the wrong way at the wrong time. And Dark strikes back. Even Ricky, the accidental swarm host, entering the production tab. That should show you how stressful this game is and how great this series is going to be. Dark versus Maru. Come on. Hive. Now down goes the macro hatch, but those 2 sets of Banelings. Maru on very thin ice with how he's been playing this. It relies on constantly being on top of those units, otherwise the Banelings will be. Those burrowed Banes still waiting for their opportunity. Dark clearly trying to draw it out, though it won't be obvious tomorrow until hopefully, well, depending on who you're rooting for, hopefully it's too late. 1. He gets the tank with it. Gets some Marines. Maru doesn't... Does he have the energy for the obligatory scan? Only the energy to go forward. Gets behind the mineral line. Even uses Ricky here. The accidental swarm host. The Locust adding some damage in. And the Ultraless Cavern begins. Adrenal glands, +3/+3. Maru only finishing 2/2, so Dark will maintain an upgrade advantage. He's held it together. Maru's been throwing punches, but Dark has held on, and he's begun to strike back. The Zergling count growing. Neither player has gotten close to maxing out. Action-packed mid-game here. We may not survive to get much further. Another fourth hatchery. What is this, the third or fourth or fifth? That has gone down one way or another. 2 ultras in the production tab. In this low economy, relatively low tech game, ultralists do have a place. There aren't ghosts. There are how many marauders? 0. That's a very low number. So, with no marauders, siege tanks constantly pressed, there's 7 tanks on the field, which will be the best defense, and Liberators in production, as the medevac count is high enough that Maru realizes some extra support could be helpful. But the Zerglings dart back in. They get a tank. Into the natural. Into the third. Dark is everywhere, and the SCVs are on the run. Another set of shoot toy depots trying to keep things busy. He just burrows the wings, because why not? And chitinous plating is on the way. Fully upgraded Ultralists. And the Zerglings on burrow. They may get a tank. The Liberator can help. They do. Oh, the hero Zergling gets a tank, but here comes Maru, hitting the 4th yet again. And here we go. The Ultras have been revealed, but the depot is down at the natural, and the Zerglings are in. The Ultras are chopping through, but they don't have chitinous plating for 6 more seconds, which means they are not a match for the sieged up tanks. And Maru's able to drive them back. The Zerglings burrowed, and also still in the natural. The Queens. What survivors are... Ricky's here! I do love the commitment from Dark. And Maru continues the path, the quickest path forward. And gonna try a multi-pronged, multi-tiered attack, because Ultras don't fly very well. 3-3 is seconds away from completion, but the Marines are already into the main. Dark desperately needs those upgrades to be able to compete here. And Maru, looks like he's not going to be able to deny them for now. Maru maintaining the supply. Just so good about maintaining that production, even under all this pressure. Dark, but 1-0, finished, done. 1 second, literally 1 second from being denied. But Maru unable to get it. And those are fully operational Ultralisks. Well, they have speed, they have 3-3. It doesn't get any better for him. And Dark still struggling. He's running out of mineral patches. He's already run low on hatcheries. Maru is just keeping up the pressure. He's held on strong enough at home, and he's continuing to carve his way in towards the main. Even looking back with the Liberator to try to cover a flank. Maru starts 3-3. So much production at being juggled. Oh, he switched. That's what the Observer was showing us. He switched all his barracks pretty much off of the reactors in order to add 3-4 tech labs for Marauders. Because without infestors, which is surprising to see, Dark with no infestors, but without infestors, those Ultras going to have trouble closing the distance, even on creep. There's such a backline here. The Marauder is going to be able to add in a little bit more aggressive potential. But picking up some of the Marines and going to try to get the tanks out on the low ground. Maru actually saves 1. But the Queens will deal with the Liberators. And Dark, again, holds the line. But I do fear for the future, as Dark is near on supply. But does he have anything to contest? Well, the sheer Liberator count. There's 3 Liberators. Ricky's still here, by the way. Dark manages to get a 4th and a 5th, and that's really the ticket. He can't really challenge Maru in his 3rd, but he can expand and take the rest of the map to make sure Maru stays off it. And that currently seems to be the intent, as Maru picks up, and unfortunately for Dark, he doesn't have any vision for it. He's headed straight towards the main. Ghosts are now in production as well. The late game option. Potentially the end game option. Maru. The umpteenth drop here in the main, and this one will get the hive. There goes any Viper production. A few Vipers were finished, but now the spotting pool itself. Dark is halfway across the map and also in the middle of nowhere. Ricky's burrowed at the fourth base for Maru, who's mined out of his main. He's actually floating his main command center. More mines will slam home. Maru, the hero lisks. The queens, transfusing them with all their energy. Parasitic bomb could be helpful. There's no detection for the mines. He doesn't even have a lair. Ricky has an opportunity to get some SCV kills. I think he will pop it. The scan, no! He gets some noise to snipe. 3 infestors on the way. Dark, a master of low economy Zerg, but it's getting more and more difficult as Maru increases the complexity of his army. And there's not much left to match it. The supplies might be even, but with the ghosts on the field, with a disgusting siege position, it leaves Dark between a rock and a hard place. He goes, he yanks out some of the Liberators. EMPs late in the scheme of this fight on the... pretty much only hits Vipers afterwards. 25 SCVs went down in the counterattack. More running away from Ultras. Does he have... he really wants to hit those SCVs. Is he gonna pop the Banes? I'm really surprised he didn't there. I think there are at least 2 Banes under there. Dark holding on. Another fungal. Just the Queens left to contest. One more fungal. The Queen's still fighting. 28 SCVs down. Dark somehow holds yet again. But at what cost? Some Ultras at the back. How is he even still... Dark has been under so much pressure, but he thrives in such conditions. The crucible of Zerg versus Terran. But Maru, every time he loses a few dozen SCVs, every time he loses a position out on the map, it seems like he regains it and then some. What an even match. I keep looking at the armies and thinking Dark just doesn't have anything left, but then everything he has left pops up in Maru's base. Is there an Ultra in the main? He just burrowed an Ultra next to a missile turret, and then I think he realized that and went to kill the missile turret and then burrowed. Well, here comes Dark. A whole lot of spellcasters completed. Banelings trying to roll in before the Widow Mines connect. Widow Mines gonna hit across the board EMP. A Blinding Cloud, though, making things more difficult. There's almost no energy for snipes left. The Ultras will stay intact because of it. The Medivacs still have energy. Are there any fungals? Those infestors, I don't think they have the energy. Maybe one? No, not quite. And Maru, has he broken the chitinous-plated back of Dark? He targets down the last infestors. And like that, Maru will take game 1 of this GSL Finals. Oh, it's gonna be a good one. All right. Wow. Well, that was certainly, honestly, one of the best, highest level games. Maru clearly laying the pressure on Dark, but Dark still somehow finding damage. I don't know how either of them found the space to do everything they were doing. That was the highest economy 3 base for both players. They still managed to field a completely capable army while still defending the counterattacks. Of course, Maru did it a little bit better. And that means he takes game 1. I really thought, even though it was Dark, I'm just looking at Maru with the siege tank pushes and the fact that Dark's sitting there with 20, 30 Zerglings. But he finds a way. The counterattack timing's on point. Honestly, I think a little map dependent. I would love this series to come down somewhat to maps, as I only think there are a handful of maps that are particularly favored one way or another. This is a Zerg map. I guess maybe except for players like Maru, but this map is the largest, apparently, playable, like the largest area for Ultras and Zerglings to roam. Makes it difficult to pin down the Zerg at any point, compared to Dragon Scales, where you're kind of jammed up in a relatively... Like, Dragon Scales is 2/3 the size of this map, if that. Just the sheer distance between bases makes it hard for Zerg to counterattack and also defend by the time they get across the map. But oh my, this is some top tier. Honestly, one of the highest level games Not to use that clickbait again, though I will. All right. Now, on a meta note, before we get into it, if I say game of the year or match of the year or any of my Dutch counterparts or even non-Dutch counterparts, that means the game or the series. We can't know what great StarCraft is going to happen next week, next month, next year. Or I guess next year doesn't really apply in this scenario. But it's just that bleeding top-tier edge you could expect above and beyond. Instead of the 0.01%, this is the 0.0001% of play. This is literally the top 2 players in Korea right now. Essentially, if Cyril's not there, these are the 2 best. Sometimes that stacks up and creates some less than ideal matches where both players are working on essentially completely different parts of the game, and that means it's a stomp back and forth or in one direction. But here, honestly, I think of both of them as more of a mid to late game. It's the Threepers again, by the way. Threepers just I'm sure we'll see it again. We'll go in depth about the Threeper opening yet again, but both Dark and Maru. Maru is perfectly willing to sit back until 200 supply, as is Dark, but when they have pieces on the board and they can move them around, that is essentially the comfort zone, especially for Maru. Being able to attack 2-3 different places, and it almost fell apart because Dark anticipated with his Banelings, and he almost turned the entire game around by slamming Banelings into both sides of the attack while counterattacking. It's essentially like they have 3 arms and they're deflecting each other while also stabbing with their 4th arm and then trying to kick each other in every possible place. So while you have that visual, we'll watch, oh my, Branda, the Threepers. I'm not exactly... I think part of the reason the Threepers have become popular is not so much the Threepers themselves, but the walling off the natural with 2 barracks. That has been something of a sticking point, especially if you want to go 3 command center, is securing the natural. And not only do you have the wall, but it's made out of mostly barracks when you go for the Threeper opening, which allows you a lot more leeway. Well, 1, the Reapers are very likely to scout any sort of, like, roach timing. Oh. And 2, even if there is some sort of roach or Zergling Baneling timing. Oh my god. Also, Reapers are super annoying, and Zerg players hate them. I'm 1/3 Zerg myself. I can speak with authority on that. But you know what Zerg players hate even more? Widow Mines. And Maru is, again, breaking out essentially an identical build. It definitely, I think it worked quite well in the previous match. It slowed Dark down a lot. It had potential to do critical damage. Dark was able to avoid it, but it was a close thing there for a while. This time, Dark is rushing speed banes as opposed to getting upgrades. So, instead of the... instead of speed, I take it back. I just didn't expect the commitment to mutas. You're throwing speed banes and mutas, which is a much more direct way. Dark went for the counterattacks and deflecting the drops before. Mutalisk, on the other hand, oh wow. Okay. Now, I don't know. I mean, he only lost 3 drones. A lot of Zerglings. 22 lings there. I guess some of those were the Reapers, but unfortunately we don't have the battle report for seeing exactly the number, but you could kind of tell. It was a pretty solid glob of Zerglings, and that's a technical term, and measuring unit. Look it up. 1-1 on the way for both sides. Maru with 15-20 second advantage. They are the same amount of... Terran and Zerg upgrades take exactly the same amount of time. Infantry. And basic Zerg. But here comes Maru into the main again. Slips in between the macro hatch. Dark really well, if he doesn't have any banelings. Oh no. This is the same attack from before. The Mutalist den is done. But there are no mutas on the field. They're just so expensive to get. By the time the Spire finishes, Maru is already across the map. What am I watching drones kill Widowmines? No. Not in time, but... nibbling away at it. He's gonna get it. Unfortunately, Dark set up his Evo chambers in such a way he kind of created a little pocket to drop units in, so not entirely convinced of that. Did Maru notice the Spire? Did he care? Is a more important question, I guess. He did see it. He has no turrets. That's how confident he is. He's able to keep on the pressure. And, essentially make the best defense, a good offense. And he's jammed that siege tank next to the shrubbery there in order to minimize the potential surface area. 1-1 on the way for both sides, but Maru's going to have it in about 5 seconds. That +1 infantry weapons. Dark still has about 15 on his. And that 10 seconds is a pretty long time when it comes to Marines just chewing through your base. And also, when it comes to Marines chewing through your Evo chamber, oh my, he saves it! What a save! What a save! But if you don't have any units left, does +1 Carapace even matter? The Zerglings counterattacking into the third. Maru. Ooh. Guts Dark. In game 2, I said a pretty solid Zerg map, but that was assuming we got past the 3 base mark. Unfortunate, but not unexpected. Maru. 2-0. That one was rough. Dark tried a different angle. Maru doubled down. Dark tried to go towards the mutas, the baneling speed, but that's assuming you survived the initial phase of the medevacs. After the mine drop, or whatever Maru chooses to throw at you. And guess what? You may have survived that, but the follow-up was deadly. And that takes us, rather quickly, into game 3. Neo-Humanity. The most divisive map in the current pool, with the Bone Trench, the rock towers that can drop down and choke things off, bubulas in the center, mineral walls towards the third, bubulas being the inhibitor zones, or whatever they're called, boringly. Inhibitor zone bubulas. They slow down units, not attacks, unless if they're melee, I guess it's effectively. No. They slow down by 35%. The cousin of the Wulas, the speed zones, which do the same thing but faster, which we haven't seen in a while. And the 2 wrecks. It is, so yeah, this is honestly worthy of talking about, because Terran versus Zerg has not seen this significant of a shift in the early game meta in a long time. Like, and of course it was Beyond who precipitated it, but it essentially, now as we move into the 13th year of StarCraft 2, it has been 1-1-1 or 2 barracks into medevacs or proxy 2 racks. Those are your 3 openers. 2 racks Reaper was considered a cheese, because most of the time what would happen is you build the barracks out on the map, try to get the Reapers in quick. But not this day. Not here. Instead, it is, once again, that early game pressure option, which, yeah, the Reaper Hellion, maybe Banshee or Battlecruiser behind, has been the staple since like 2010. So we'll see. I haven't yet seen a Zerg. Like, Zerg's response to it has been, I guess I'll make a few more links, because it does delay the first command center. The natural. It does slow down the rest of the tech. So you can be pretty confident that Terran will not have Hellions or a Battlecruiser or any of those shenanigans nearly as early as usual. But 3 Reapers do very much, like, even if you get speed, 6 Lings are not enough. And Dark didn't even get speed. In fact, he doesn't even have gas. So, you know what? I was so concentrated on the Terran build. Dark is going with a gasless style, which, instead of trying to compete with the map control the Reapers afford, he's trying to out-economize. That's the word. He's trying to build his economy so large before Maru can catch up. And this is definitely a different angle of approaching this. And I'm very interested to see a very lore accurate angle of approach, too, when it comes to the Zerg. So, when does he get the gas? That's the most important. There's 2. 350, we're at 36 drones. Well, zones out with some Lings and a Queen. Maru, anticipating it, doesn't just panic and jump out, still trades a bit. There's the Roach Warren. Only 2 gases thus far. It is going to be a straight-up Marine push behind this time for Maru. It's not going to be the mine drop. It's not going to be the medevac follow-up. It's just 3 barracks of Marines. Dark has his Overlord in the little safe zone over there. Not a pillar, but instead just a big open airspace. Okay. So will the Roaches be out in time? How many Marines does... He knows it's going to be Marine push. He hasn't seen a Widow Mine drop yet. But he has nothing... No real information that this is just a straight-up Marine push. The boys! What? What did Maru see? Is Maru just trying... He obviously is just trying to end it. There's no reason to bring the boys, except to take some extra damage. Maru try to go on to match point, just like that. Combat shield is about to complete as the fight begins. And Dark is even building a spine crawler. Here are the queens. Try to hold the line. The boys on the front line. Combat shield done. Drones kind of jammed up in there. Grenades thrown into the mix to slow things down. Stims again. The roach count thinning out. The boys have been cleared up. The drones have to be pulled off the line. Maru is all in right now. And we'll see if Dark... He's continuing to rally out roaches. Those Marines will not be healed. 13 drones down. All Dark has to do is hold. With like more than 30 drones. The Marines are 1 hit away. Continuing to be thinned out. Another round of roaches. That could turn it. 16, 19 drones. I think Dark held. It was not pretty. It was not clean. A lot of blood on both sides was shed. What, you run out of Marines? The SCVs, well, he didn't, but there's not much follow-up. And of course, these two are so evenly matched. The game, despite the incredibly and utterly all-in nature of that all-in. Wow, that was a great commentary. It about evens out. Even is maybe not the right word for it. Maru is behind. But he's not dead, because he killed so many SCVs, and roaches are going to have a tough time with no speed, with no upgrades, actually capitalizing on the situation. They can defend, but attacking, on the other hand, much dicier proposition. So that's why Dark has built more and more drones, and is going straight for a lair. Because he knows you can't leave Maru alone for too long. But he might as well take advantage of the current situation and try to build an overwhelming force of roaches to deal with this. What a great series. Even if Maru 4-0s this, which would mean Dark really makes some mistakes here, I think. It's very clear how good these two are. I love that we're seeing an actual split in the meta. Dark adapting here. I don't know what prompted. I think Maru was just mixing it up. I don't know if he truly thought that is the highest percentage play on this map, or if he was trying to work off the fact, like, if you're doing a bare bones defense against a Widow Mine drop into a medevac follow-up, You don't have that many units early. If Maru had done the same build again, then the correct response, if Dark was adapting to that, would have been about as few units as possible to deal with the mines, and then a huge unit explosion to deal with the follow-up. But Maru tried to circumvent that by just hitting him hard and fast, pulling the boys straight up Marines right at that timing when you're focusing more on economy. But Dark wasn't having it. Dark went for full eco early, so he had enough in order to build the roaches. He wasn't caught droning because he already had Maru walled off his siege tank, but Maru, unlike some Terrans, notices immediately. Or does he? That's not walled off, it's just unmotivated. You guys can empathize, I'm sure. Like and subscribe. Siege tank on the way out. Double drop. Dark has almost doubled the supply, but it is roaches. Here we go. Maru gonna try to make magic happen with 2 medevacs. But my roach count is more than high enough. I expect Dark at some point will cease dealing with this. Keep about 20 roaches at home and throw everything else directly at Maru. Enough to make sure that drop doesn't do anything, and then try to crush the third bases. Double drop continually zoned out. Dark has a 4th base done. Must be nice to have it and not have to cancel or lose it. Essentially, 14 to, oh my god, 11 Ravagers. Essentially everything he could build. In fact, so many Ravagers, he's walling off his other Ravagers. And throws up the corrosive bile. Lands it down. And here comes Dark. The final boss, not willing to go out of the finals so easily. 1-1 is done for Maru. 3 well-placed siege tanks. Boys pre-pulled. Throws the corrosive biles, but the flank from the right will undercut the tanks. Maru trying to cleave his way through. But is there enough? I don't think so. The roaches and the Ravagers will fall back when pressed by the Marines. But there are more where that came from. 25 SCVs. More siege tanks coming up. Corrosive bile will finish them off. Maru retreats to the natural. He's lost the 3rd. 30 SCVs with it. Chases down a few Ravagers inside, but inside is about to become out as the roaches blast their way through. The medevacs have taken some damage already. He has to pick up again. Maru down 110 supply. The roaches continue across the map. It will not stop. And Dark will not be denied. Maru is stopped in game 3. It stops here. And Maru Dark strikes back. I don't know, Maru trying an SCV all in, trying to speed run this. No. Do you know who you're playing? Dark is not going to be fazed by losing 2 games. He's fully ready to go into a 3rd. I've never really seen Dark tilted. And even if he does, he comes back around the other side and stabs you in the back. And that's just how Dark do. And that brings us to a series. 2-1. Going in to game 3. Jimmy, please, come on. Altitude. The 2nd most divisive map in the map pool. Quite a large one. You've got your Rube Goldberg bases where you gotta take down, you have the watchtowers, but then you take down the rock tower, which falls on the watchtower, destroying it, and then you take down the rocks, then you can take the base, which has happened like once or twice in real matches, but Maru, 2 racks. Dark, gas pool this time. Marked difference. It is a map with the ramp to the natural, which is just one of the easiest indicators of a more defensive map. Whether it's Dragon Scales, Altitude, Babylon, Yes, I'm walking through it in my head. Is that it? Is that all of them? I'm missing one more. I should probably say it out loud so that way I know instead of just in my head. There's one more map. Royal Blood, no. Ancient Sister, no. New Humanity, no. I hate when this happens. There's one more. It's not important. Well, unless we play that map. Gresvin, no. Babylon Altitude. Dragon. Oh wait, no, that's all of them. Yeah. 3 out of 7. Though Royal Blood has a slightly smaller choke point, which is its own conversation a bit. Oh my god. He tries to body block with the Reaper after he essentially alley-ooping the drone into the air. Oh, Maru. Queen bounced around. Gonna be speed this time. And so far, well, Dark last time with his no gas, but panning out quite well. It's gonna be 3 command centers. Are you surprised? No. But 3 command centers with the Reapers continually scouting, as well as 2 barracks of the ramp. Pretty much free. Stim on the way. And that is 3 Marines producing, but only the 3. Second gas. The timing of the second gas. The Overlord. Yeah, it saw the 3rd CC and backed off. Susan, would you attack those? I'm trying, Brenda. I'm trying. All right, that's all we can do is try. We can't fly. We can only... Susan. I didn't like her any. The Reapers kill a queen, which is more than they could ever expect, and quite painful at this stage when you need every bit of that energy for either larva or creep. The Reaper's just stacking it. It gets the creep tumor. Not that the creep tumor on the edge of the main is going to be huge, but that's a little bit of extra vision. And potentially denial for drops later. It's important to creep all over your base, all right? Even the back corners. A lot of people forget about the back corners. They also forget the in-between the main and the natural. In that one, like, your mother always told you to creep between your main and your natural. But you didn't listen, okay? For years, we didn't. But at least nowadays, Zerg players are a lot more diligent about that. Roach Warren. Choosing that as the more reliable option. Baneling Nest does not exist yet. I say yet, though it's not a guarantee. But if we were gonna start it, it'd be about the time. No evolution chambers either. Engineering bays begin for Maru. Definitely a more aggressive game with both players focusing less on the upgrades early, game 1 notwithstanding, and more on having enough army supply to compete on the field for as long as possible. It is a little concerning how late those Evo chambers are now for Dark. He's not gonna go Spire, right? Is this an out? He's only at 58 drones, so it could very well just be effectively an all-in Roach timing. Yeah, no Evo chambers points towards that. Speed is a quicker upgrade than, you know, the basic unit upgrade. There's the double Evo. 62 drones, full 3 base saturation pretty much, minus a couple gas. The Marines are... What are you doing over there? Waiting for medevacs. The medevacs, I believe, just flew past an Overlord, so... I don't know if he was trying to be a little sneaky about it, but... The Overlord spots the medevac timing. There's Roaches and Ravagers on the way. Combat Shield. Finishing up a scan. May have spotted a Roach or 2 here. Gonna clear up the creep, headed towards the 3rd. Maru pre-stims. He thinks there's no units behind. Surprise! Yeah, that stim was... Oh, I guess you don't really have anything. Oh, he has something. He has plenty. Dark says, let me show you. Roach, Ravager. I'm gonna keep looking for opportunities. We got more barracks on the way as Maru, nonplussed at the moment, continues the production. Corrosive biles hit only a roach. Now that little bit of creep that was denied in the main might become relevant, as the very edge of the main doesn't have any creep here. Not that I think that's going to be a huge meaningful situation, but small chance he could evade detection with a drop. Tactical group, the contaminate, pausing the production on the factory. Always nice to limit the siege tank count. Might as well. If you're there, you have the energy. Armory on the way. 1-1 finishing up. Nidus network. Could go for the Tactonitis, like an actual kind of Brood War style. Because this is a high economy. I don't think he's necessarily looking to get it in the main, though that Overlord is in a very, very suspicious location. More Overlords on the way. And Maru is headed across the map. Does he have vision? The corner of his... Did he scan the Nidus? No. No, I'm pretty sure Maru has vision. There's one maybe little corner he may have missed. And Dark, well, appropriately likes to work in those little dark corners. You never know what's out there. 100 supply of roaches and a Nidus. Oh my god! Well, actually just gonna go for the frontal attack. The reinforcements waiting at the natural. Don't want to be caught off guard, out of position. Nidus in the main simultaneously. It is spotted. Maru responding directly. He abandons the third in favor of defending the Nidus in the main, except his own Sim City is delaying dealing with the Nidus for so long. It will complete. He's not going to pop anything out. Dark has brought everything together. I wouldn't be surprised. Yes, a reinforcing Nidus swarm. Attack the Nidus. Actually using it as quicker transport here. Maru loads up so many drops. Another Nidus is going to pop out. Maru going to scour his main, realize it's just outside his base. And he can come home with it too, like a much higher effort recall. Does take a while, but looking for more on the high ground. The Overseer positioning is great. Maru sending these... Oh, this is going to get... This is going sideways very quickly. If Dark does not have units in position, he very well could lose his third. But Maru is pinned back to 2 bases, so he's not doing amazing himself. Maru just trying to avoid whatever he can with the medevacs, as it's unlikely Dark can move up. There's just not enough roaches here. 4 medevacs of Marines just stimming and gunning through the third hatchery. The roaches cannot match them. The drones have been evacuated. He'll pick up, and he'll get out. Dark still chipping through the center. The Vikings take down the Overseer. Without high ground vision, it's going to become a lot harder to break the barracks on the top of the ramp. They're showing the value of just the 2 racks opener. It bought enough time here. The barracks themselves... Brenda! Queen, abandoned. Out in the middle of the map, Maru. Scrambling, kind of flailing, to be honest, to get damage done. But flailing so well, it looks intentional. And you know what? It very much is. There's Maru keeping the economy busy. Dark was at 201 supply for a moment there with a little bit of extractor, not extractor trick, but just cancel action. More upgrades finishing for Maru. 2-2 about to complete. Hive is surprisingly not even halfway done. And Maru has survived. He's survived the onslaught. He survived the swarm. And he's survived to potentially retake his third. But did I speak too soon? He's not going to fall for those corrosive biles. The siege tank count is too damn high. 51 roaches on the field, but 7 siege tanks. And 48 Marines with 2-2. That is just something that, even at 200 supply, Zerg is going to struggle to compete with. And Dark very much knows it. He's got Infestation Pit on the way, or Pathogen Glands. Infestor Energy on the way, as Fungal going to be required to deal with this critical mass. He's going to try to fight. Finishes 2-2. Best opportunity before Maru maxes out. Draws some of the siege tank fire. Corrosive biles sniping off a few tanks, but the Marine lines are holding. To the south, the SCVs were pulled. The Roaches and Ravagers driven back. The siege tanks are overwhelming. And Dark is pushed back yet again. But 17 SCVs went down in the fray. Mules will drop. Corrosive biles trying to find what they can. Pathogen glands completing now. An infestor should be joining the production tab momentarily. The fade away biles clip a few Marines. Dark on the ragged edge of cost and efficiency there. He loses a lot of Roaches, several Ravagers, but he does enough damage that Maru has to be hesitant about moving out. Not hesitant enough, though. Dark has... his economy's still not amazing. He's sitting on 63 drones. Maru staggering those mules back up. Neural Parasite. Burrow move Roaches on the way. And here we go. The siege tanks. That's a lot of tanks. He doesn't have any Vipers. The Vipers, without Vipers, I don't know. I don't think you can fight that. Vehicle weapons level 2, a huge damage upgrade against the Roach Ravager. Dark counterattacking yet again. If you can't fight it head on, you try to pick it apart. Incredible! Devastating fungals! Doing terrible, terrible damage! Killing a lot of the Marines on the other side, though not enough to stop the push. Dark working his way through. Orbital on fire. It's burning, and the bios might be able to melt through it. One more siege tank back at home. Broodling popping out of the dead base at the 3rd. Dark is back to 3. Maru technically has 3. He's retaken that top left corner, but Maru's army supply is dwindling. The problem is this army just certainly, it's difficult to engage. There aren't that many Marines left. It's just a few tanks, but tanks are probably the highest damage unit in the game right now. Oh, corrosive and pathogen glands. The full Zerg swarm combo. The Tunneling Claws is done. He can regenerate some of his Roaches with it. Maru will notice it, I'm sure, as it has that extra fancy horns, the shiny horns on the top of the Roaches. But Maru's one of a... he forgot concussive shells, though he just started making Marauders a little while ago. The Burrow move Roaches underneath everything. But not under the gaze of the missile turret. +3 is done for Dark, despite everything as well. He's been able to maintain those upgrades. Roaches are relatively cheap. Oh, Fungal doesn't find too much. Brood and Fester all throughout the map. These players... the fact that he knows about is very important for Dark. I believe... oh my god, he doesn't! The Roach... go! He doesn't know about that base. That's so important. Just a few Roaches there. Maru's mining. Maru has retaken the income lead because of that base. Dark is maxed out yet again. But... oh, he found it. Dark found it. Alright, 3-3 done across the board. And the Roach pops up. Just knowing about this bit, knowing is half the battle. The other half is the actual battle, which is, you know, arguably more than half. But Hydralisk Den on the way. Ghosts in production now, as yet again. These two, so evenly matched. This series, so incredible. The best Zerg versus Terran. Yes, Cyril, Beyond, all great. But I think these two, like Dark's kind of off-kilter Zerg against Maru's inevitable Terran. He just min-maxes every part of the game. Even that last game with the SCV pull, a lot of players would have just faltered immediately upon the push failing. But he still made a game of it. Dark, the unstoppable force. Maru, the immovable object. Neither of those things particularly accurate. They're both a combination of the two, but... look at... I really like... Maru, very willing to abandon his add-ons. They are not permanent fixtures. By definition, it's in the name. Add-ons. And if one isn't working for you, can add a Tech Lab, get Ghosts, get Marauders. So many Terrans at all levels do not... essentially, once an add-on is... maybe for starports, but that's like the only thing. But Maru, in multiple games in this series, has flipped out a lot of his barracks production into those tech labs for this late game army composition. Especially in this relatively thin economic situation, he doesn't have the money, I say as he builds 2 more command centers, he doesn't have the money to just slap down half a dozen more barracks. But, you know, that is becoming less true by the moment, as both sides have gone back to their corner. Dark is only at 57 drones, which he's maxed out, so his army supply is massive, and will be more massive than even Maru can build, who has a 16-worker lead. Baneling Nest. This production tab is all over the place. Baneling Nest, Overlord speed, and +1 melee, combined with Hydra range and Lurker speed. The drop coming in, but the Infester. Okay. 1 fungal. Okay, and Parasitic Bomb. I think that's actually enough. Between 2 fungals and Parabombs, I think those kill the Medivacs. I mean, it's a lot of effort, but he does get them. The most convoluted way of taking out Medivacs. That did it! Okay, my pet peeves. Very important to go over. The amount of players who will consume their hive with the Vipers as like the first target and not, you know, mined out extractors. Dark consumed his extractors. Finally, a Zerg player. Yes, you don't get, you can't do it that much, but seeing a hive at 40% HP die to a single drop is one of the most painful things in professional StarCraft 2, and it happens on not a regular basis. So Dark, even doing those little details, just like Maru with his tech labs, these are tiny things that even in 13 years of StarCraft 2 are not commonplace. I think partially because we're 13 years into StarCraft 2, and players have an idea, this is how you're supposed to play. For a while, sensor towers were considered a noob move. Okay, why use sensor towers when you can send out units and just scan a bunch? Oh my god, he's doing the... Don't drop him on your units. He's doing the Rube Goldberg. Alright, Rube Goldbase, I'm sorry, that's the correct term. Meanwhile, Maru is... We're just playing 2 games this game. The first game will be your standard, like, Marine tank against Roach Ravager. The second part will be late game mech against Lurker's Infester Viper. So, welcome to this doubleheader of Zerg versus Terran. Game 4 and 4.5. I declare game 4.5 begun. As now both sides have their late game production set up. Yeah, a lot of the time. The difference between Maru and Dark and anyone else is a lot of players will essentially, like, there'll be a couple fights, and then they'll just go back and turtle like this. Maru and Dark have played a whole ass, like, straight-up mid-game ZVT, and only after exhausting all the other realistic options find themselves here. There's a nuke. And Dark is, well, that's one way to get rid of your roaches, I guess. Going up a ramp into +3 siege tanks. He's already preemptively resetting the creep tumors. The oncologist ghost, solving the tumor problem with some nuclear fallout. Gonna try to expand to the center. Both players. Will we see both gold bases taken? Madness. High-sec auto-tracking. Building armor. Here comes Dark, trying to deal with it. EMP on, well, whatever he can catch. Corrosive Bile does a great job of nailing down his own overseer. Brenda! And Fungals throws up Corrosive Bile. The Ghosts under fire! Melted by the Biles. The tanks weren't sieged up. Liberator still intact, though. Anti-armor missile. He built a Raven! He built a Raven! Oh my god, Twitch chat and YouTube comments, why not just build a Raven instead of scanning all... Well, there it is. There's your Raven. After 13 years, we finally learned all the little details. The Nidus, oh my god, the Changelings got into the main. There's nothing in the Nidus. I don't think Dark was expecting this to be successful. There's no reinforcements to deal with it, as Maru was already... I guess he wasn't maxed out. Nobody's dealing with the Nidus. Neither player. And honestly, what are you gonna do? Like, Maru, most of his stuff is out on the map. Down goes another tank. Yeah, more lurkers morphing in a less than ideal situation. More units loaded into the Nidus. Dark, actually. 16 drones at this base. Lurkers make their way into the main. Now, finally, the Nidus. So much going on. No. Those roaches were still... What? Maru's nuking us. What are you doing? No! Scorched Earth! Are you insane? What is... Why? No! And it doesn't even really do anything because on the other side of the... I can't believe it. Maru nukes his own main, which is certainly... I mean, that's some fan service right there, but he scrambles an infestor. But the main base, he's losing ground. The creep. And Dark says, my work here is done. Well, that infestor says, I want to live with the Terrans, and the Terrans aren't big on that, no matter how tolerant they pretend to be. So Maru's orbital, which he nuked, I might add, was being repaired by a mule. So now what? Where are we now? Both players are still with plenty of army supply. I don't know what just burned over there. Was that the armory? That was kind of an important one. I guess he has 3 too, but if you want to build Thors or cloak your mines, I guess, or ship weapons maybe. Okay, the armory has mostly served its purpose. Dark is still maxed. That Nidus ended up being... Okay, I declare game 4.51 open as yet another... At some point, we gotta calm down, right? At some point, we get to that actual turtley aspect of the game. But so far... Well, the creep spread has been all but eliminated, as Dark has been unable... I don't know how many queens are left. 2 queens. So far... Oh, he only made 6 total queens this game? That's one of the more mundane, yet ridiculous parts of it so far. 6 queens in 24 minutes. Spore Crawler trying to outmaneuver the Liberator. The most... It's like watching elephants dance on ice. That's it. That's all I got. Meanwhile, yanking in some of the ghosts. EMPs do land. Nidus Worm detected. In the main... Here we go again, the lurkers eviscerating anything that comes close. Siege tank should be ready to deal with this. Oh, he gets the changeling! The changelings with the... You just walk the changelings in. That's the real... Behind enemy lines, the changelings providing vision. Just need to neural and orbital and scan to menace in 2v2. Another... Will someone ever take the gold? Maru presses forward. A planetary to box out. Siege tanks eliminated. More lurkers trying to make their way forward. The lurkers making progress to the north and holding the line to the south. Dark, it feels like gaining a lot of momentum off that Nidus. Has taken the initiative and most of the map. Still, 18 ghosts on the field. Nidus Network yet again in the main, going for the armory, which is researching +3 vehicle armor. But the building armor keeping it alive against the now fully upgraded Zerglings. You know what we haven't seen at all this series? Brood Lords. Anti-armor missile onto the lurkers. He's actually committing to the siege. I expected him to pull back almost immediately, and maybe he should have as the ghosts come up. There wasn't much coverage for those lurkers. That is kind of why I didn't start the dramatic commentary. I really expected Dark to back off on seeing the ghost count. And at this point, he may be regretting the lack thereof. As the lurker count, he's now lost 24 of them. I think he lost a dozen lurkers. The siege tank spread. I can't believe it's not butter. +3 vehicle plating. Completed. Fully upgraded siege tanks and hell chads here with blue flame. An existential threat to Zerglings. Destroying as many as they can fit in their cone of fire. Literally. Dark. Where once it seems like he had the momentum, instead... Is that a planet? No, he's gonna... Maru's taking the gold. Dark now. His supply... He has money in the bank. I think he's kind of deciding. Also, not that much larva. Because once again, how many queens? It's still 6 queens in this whole game. He only has 2 left. So the larva count is just not that high. Yes, he has a lot of hatcheries, but when you're spamming Zerglings... He's only lost 200, but he's lost 150 roaches. He's now lost 5,000 more gas and minerals. The gas, clearly the issue there. Blinding Cloud finds an angle. Maru continuing. Finally, the Raven goes down. Nidus to wall! That is definitely... He's trying to wall off with it. And is successful. Unfortunately, he's not able to get around there. Why are there Baneling? I don't even know what 2 Banelings are going to accomplish, and I'm pretty sure they don't either. Well, that is a very dead Overseer. Maru is struggling, or not Maru. Dark doesn't have any gas. He's out of gas. And that's not a metaphor. Maru has established a planetary at the gold base that Dark opened up but could never hold. The army, 19 ghosts. He's got 10 Hellchads, 14 fully upgraded siege tanks, and a few bio units scattered in. 3 Marines have survived. Well, not survived, but are still around. Dark just avoiding what is almost a one of the most difficult armies in the game to deal with. The Baneling still looking for a target. Maru is coming back. He's losing a lot of his production. He doesn't have too much money to rebuild. Dark has a lot of minerals. He's trying to hit ghosts that are cloaked with no detection. And what has been one of the most dramatic games in StarCraft 2 history seems like it's grinding to an inevitable halt, as Maru will not be stopped. Not by the roaches, the ravagers, the nidus, the lurkers, the queens. By no one. He will rule this map, or see literally his main base burnt to nuclear ashes before him. Dark challenging a planetary while losing most of his mining bases. It's not gonna be enough. Maru rebuilding his production. Dark still making a great effort of it. But Maru has held the line and pushed it back. The cloak goes GG. Maru goes to match point. We're not done, but we're a little bit closer. Only 6 queens. Honestly, probably by the end could have used a little more creep spread. I don't know what the answer was. Dark floundering into the siege line one too many times. The Nidus, the surprise hero, the wild card in the middle of the match, drawing out a self-nuke from Maru. I'm still not sure about that one. But here we go. Put your likes and subscribes together for game 5. Thank you for choosing to share this series with me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, no matter how it ends. Even if the seemingly inevitable Maru victory comes to pass. Or if Dark turns it all around, which Maru just looks a little bit better. And hopefully I've made your day that so far, and many days in the past and future. To be so bold. If you haven't yet, you made it this far, and you haven't subscribed, well, this will mark about 3 years of me casting, I would say full-time, commentating. I did commentate and cast before that, but less focused on it. So hopefully you think I've gotten a little bit better as well. And thank you for watching. And thank you to GSL for the first time this year sending out the games for everyone to enjoy and commentate if they'd like, on top of putting on the most long-standing, prestigious, and dramatic tournament in the game. So, with that said, now time for filler commentary. And not so filler, actually. He didn't go 2 racks here on Babylon. Instead, Dark was looking... He knows Maru so well, but not quite well enough. He looked for a proxy Rex and took an alternative Overlord pathing. So, with no proxy Rex, that means the Overlord is not in the standard pervert pillar hanging out with the moopies there. No. Instead, is headed towards the main, where he will see a surprisingly quick factory in the scheme of things. In fact... Oh, I thought that was a second. No, it's a second barracks. But he sees the factory timing, and that will give him enough information. 1, obviously, not the Reapers. 2, if there was ever going to be a battlecruiser game. But I say that because he didn't scout the second barracks. We know it is a much more bio-focused opener. A bunker. No scout, a bunker at the front. Maru. Interesting. Feels like kind of throwing something out there this game. It's definitely a different style here in Game 5. I'm not sure. Clearly it's going to be some sort of early starport. It looks like Banshee. Indeed it is. Roach Warren. Halfway done. Wait, how many drones? He's gonna go up to 40. Defensive Roach Warren. Maybe enough to make Maru think twice, but I don't think Dark intends on trying to put together a deadly attack. Third barracks on the way. This looking a bit more conventional. Maru salvages his bunker once he gets his Banshee almost done, trying to min-max that income. He did build the first barracks at the front as well. I wonder, like, he did use it to try to lift and deal with the Overlord, which wasn't there, but the idea was there. So, very interesting. But Dark has countered it all by simply not worrying about it. Double medevac follow-up to the single Banshee, no cloak. Handful of roaches across, assuming you can fit 9 roaches in your hand. It's a pretty big handful. All right, maybe 2 hands. Not so cloaked Banshee. Lair starts. Dark. Pretty sure there isn't cloak here. But roaches at the front. The Banshee goes down. Distracted for a moment by the roaches. Those are unstim Marines, but there is a medevac now, so Dark does have to back off. Maybe he gets the reactor? Yeah, unstim Marines with no combat shield are not nearly as dangerous as, well, their upgraded counterparts. Double medevac drop headed out. Evolution chamber. As well as a lair for Dark. So still kind of a tenuous economy in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, Maru didn't go 3cc this time, though. So having a lower drone count is not nearly as big of an issue. What did we say about creep to the natural, Brenda? How many times do we have to go over this? The inability to move queens around may actually end up being one of the greater difficulties for Maru, or for Dark in dealing with Maru's medevacs. Multiple more barracks on the... He's going to go up to barracks 4 and 5. An incredibly cookie cutter, yet effective Terran style here. Not that Maru has strayed too far from that throughout this series. Increasingly focused on Marines and tanks. It was only because we had 2 parts of last game that it feels different, where he ended up essentially just going mech with some ghosts and marauders mixed in. More drops headed out, not gonna risk walking directly into the jaws of the roaches. Dark increasing the number of those jaws. A dozen more roaches in production. 1-1. Roach speed. Stim Marines. And another 4th hatchery. He's got his target locked. And again, Maru hits it. Denying the 4th base as long as possible, while maintaining production back at home, has been the mantra throughout this series. Knowing that Zerg, well, it makes sense. Zerg, once they get that 4th base of economy and production, that's when they almost certainly will be maxing out, as well as putting together enough units to attack and counterattack, or defend and counterattack, depending on the situation. So denying the 4th slows down that timing, though it doesn't necessarily stop it. Dark was 2/3 of the way across the map and is coming back to deal with the quadra drop. Surprising lack of units back at home. Splits off a few roaches. The rest headed across the map, but this buys Maru another a few moments that he doesn't know he needed, but certainly could use. 2-2 has not begun. Here's Dark. Maru pre-pulls SCVs. Corrosive Bile almost clips him out of that. Only a couple siege tanks here, but Maru is rejoining. Here come the Roaches and Ravagers, though, all over the place, slipping in on every side. Corrosive Bile scattered throughout the bulk of the Marines. 13 SCVs down, and Dark barely dips in supply. 1-1 is done. He's opening up the rocks here before Maru can re-siege, making things a little more difficult and a little easier for Dark to maneuver around. Maru just cannot seem to get out of his base. This is much like Altitude, except Dark this time with a focus on getting towards Hive Tech. He's already got the infestation pit done. I imagine the Hive will join the production tab momentarily. And Maru going to try to spam medevac drops in an attempt to draw Dark out of position. We'll see if he can do so yet again. Dark is maxed out. Hive on the way. 2-2 begun. Maru only has +2 armor on the way. Did he forget the attack upgrade, or did he queue it up? That's a mistake. I mean, maybe you want to go armor before attack. That's fine, but not getting +2 attack as well, definitely not something he intended to do, especially considering he has money for the +2 attack anyways. Another 4th base is taken out. Maru hates 4th bases. All right, it's like Netflix with TV shows, all right? We'll never have a 4th season. Well, here, once again, the medevacs will destroy... He got both of them. Maru is just so good at finding those timings. And quite a setback for Dark, but not to be outdone. He's building 3 hatcheries right now. I guess 2 4th bases, as well as a macro hatch. Just in case. Maru made his way back up to 150 supply. He did find that +2 weapons, unresearched. Roaches and Ravagers testing the waters. 2-2. He's testing the waters as he's finishing 2-2 here. This is Dark, trying to probe for weakness, potentially draw Maru out of position, so he can take advantage of it momentarily. The Hive is done. Baneling speed on the way. Maru scans everything. He knows it's not going to get any easier. Scan on the army. Pathogen glands infester. Again. Infantry armor about to complete. Something for Maru. Where's the infester? I say there's 2 of them. This time, Dark is in position to deflect. 44 Zerglings on the way. Baneling speed as well. Those are not unrelated. Roaches found and killed. Maru with enough army supply to truly threaten. Trying to get in before all these hive tech units come online. Vipers with energy. Roach Ravager Baneling. He doesn't have adrenal glands because he got to get Zergling speed first. The siege tanks. The army supplies are almost even here. There is no outright upgrade advantage for Dark, as he may just give up this base in favor. Well, he has another 4th base. Oh my god, the Zergling speed finishes just in time for the counterattack. Maru, that's his only 3rd. He doesn't have any other options. Dark just going to try to force Maru to make a mistake while limiting his economy. Trying to come up a ramp into siege tanks. Not ideal, but the orbital! The orbital is ripped apart by the Zerglings. Maru's so stressed in the center of the map. Finally, showing signs of breaking. Maru now, that actually supply blocks him as well. Not lifting the orbital, a big mistake. Uncharacteristic, but Dark putting so much pressure on. The Liberators will join into the fray. Dark rebuilding that hatchery. He doesn't want to let him get into the natural location. A few drones in a dangerous position. Dark with the double siege up. Vikings to zone. And where are the Vipers? Parasitic bomb, maybe? Where are the Vipers, Dark? Yes, another wave of Zerg tries to come through. Maru's on borrowed time here. The siege tank's in a bit of an awkward spot. Zerglings closing the distance. Fungal hits everything. Corrosive bile, knocking down a bunch of the medevacs. Gets some of the Liberators. Dark. Oh, is trading pound for pound. Well, maybe 2 for 1. And he can at this moment. The income sliding heavily towards the Zerg. The final boss is not done yet. He comes in for another round. Maru is running out of units here, and he's barely producing anymore. Adrenal glands is done. Dark is not maxed out. He still has the economy. Maru is threatening to cut off circulation here. Takes down another set. 2 more tanks. The medevacs try to find something to heal. The evolution chambers with the triple upgrades, doing their best to complete them. But this may very well be the final fight, if he can remove this attack without losing everything. Then Dark can come across the map. Another set of fungals. The Roach Ravager. There's just too much. Another fungal on the medevacs. Where are you going, Maru? Looks like he'll make it home for now, but Dark chases him down with a vengeance. He kept his upgrades alive. He held the natural. And Maru is forced to tap out. And Dark puts another point on the board. It's 3-2. Dark holds the line. Maru's still so dangerous. Even on losing his base. If he hadn't lost the 3rd, maybe we have a bit of a different game. But Dark willing to throw units into the meat grinder and essentially gum up the works so much that eventually Maru has nothing left. God, the attrition Zerg is lore accurate, but sometimes painful to watch. So, Maru will maintain match point, as that's kind of how it works in a best of 7 or best of anything, but Dark puts another one on the board and we're going into yet another macro map. It's aggressive. What a great series. These two so evenly matched. None of these games... Honestly, one of the biggest mistakes of the series so far. Maru losing his orbital to Zerglings. I'm highly amused that the Zergling's not even getting speed until, like, the 15-minute mark. Dark's so focused on the Roach Ravager, which is not... So Roach Ravager is not particularly cost-effective, but it is the best, at least when well-controlled, in the right hands, Dark's hands. The best way to take out siege tanks, Liberators, and generally make things difficult for Terran. as Hydras, Lings, and Banes are a pretty known quantity. With great splits, good target fire, a competent Terran can whittle it down. Whereas the Ravagers can pick apart those sort of attacks. It's a bit of a stylistic choice. Like, Cyril is much more likely to go for the Hydraling Bane. He has that mechanical prowess that even Maru can't match. And, but Dark's more, like a battlefield surgeon. Except, he's trying to kill you. So, like, okay, well, that fell apart pretty quickly, but it's he doesn't rely on simply being better mechanically. He relies on picking the right fight at the right time and controlling the chaos that comes out of it. How many times have we seen Dark give up a base? He's given up, I think that's the correct analogy. Just a convoluted way of putting it. He essentially lops off his own hand to take out your arm. And eventually, gambling that you'll be left with less by the end. And whoever has a leg to stand on wins the game. Let me see those toes, Maru. This isn't Dronely, fans! Alright, that's enough. Oh, the Threepers. We're back to the Threepers. Maru tried. The non-2-racks didn't like it. I don't know if that was the takeaway, but we're back to the 3 Reaper opener. The grenades bouncing the queens out of the way. Actually trying. He's not going to kill or cancel this base. Oh my god, he slips back into the natural. Just in time. The Reapers continue. 4 drones. They will all die. The queens will find. Brenda will have her revenge. But, I don't know. I mean, he got a full scout. That's very important. Dark will not shy away from a roach timing. So, luckily for Maru, he's on the side of the map where the add-ons are protected by the racks. One of the few instances, but increasingly meaningful with this 2 racks meta. One of the few instances of RNG being quite relevant in StarCraft 2, as the add-ons can only be placed off to the right side of the barracks. Same with, so in a very smaller way, the same is true of Zerg, where the hatchery always spawns larvae and queens to the south. This is most relevant when dealing with things like a bunker rush, and that could be the difference, like on this side of the map. Or in ZVZ is another example, but on this side of the map, your queen might spawn, or other units might spawn in a safe location, whereas on the opposite side, it is more likely the Marines or a bunker or Zerglings can catch and kill them. So, we have seen some games decided based on the add-ons being exposed or not. You'll see Baneling bus. More Zerglings built early to just outright kill the add-ons, especially with these 2 racks placed where you're going for stim in order, and that tech lab is exposed. But neither player at this late hour, and it has been going for anything particularly risky. We're falling back into the comfort zone. We've got the quicker lair, as well as a roach warren for Dark. Was that a cloak band? He was getting cloak, I think, for the benefit of the Overlord. And then the Banshee cancels it. Now adds on the barracks. 3rd command center. The Marine count is high enough to repel any sort of attacks, and soon will be threatening and attack themselves. The not-so-cloak Banshee into the main. Zergling counterattack repelled. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking so hard. This series has been exhausting. I can't imagine how it is for the players. Sometimes I think I forget I'm supposed to talk out loud about what I'm thinking. Though that is a dangerous thing in and of itself, so. Thank you for watching again. Maru cuts down on the creep. That has been a sticking point. Dark has not, even in the games that he's won, not been able to find much creep spread. Maru does such a diligent... That's a 4th base. Oh, he coming. All right. There's one thing we've learned is Maru does not tolerate 4th bases. At least now while he has the means to stop them. Sitting back. He knows it's the roaches. Just something a little tougher to break through early. Work around the edges. Something roaches don't have much anti-air potential. Probably their most dramatic weakness. One, both sides. Here. Dives towards the main. Dark is already in position. He's essentially Pavlovian at this point. Dark is like, well, I took a 4th base. Now I need to put roaches by it because Maru will... It is not a question of if. It is a question of when. Maru actually eats a corrosive bile on the medevac. Looking away for a moment. We forget. Let's go to the Maru cam for a moment, just to remind you that the game is not played with just the medevacs out on the map, or one unit with a few different abilities and some items they buy. No. But during all this, both players continually expanding their economies, their potential, keeping control, managing supply, upgrades, and everything else. The real action is here. Now, it doesn't look like that on your UI when you're playing, but the production constantly adding more command centers, setting up the drops, factories, depots, looking for opportunities while making sure those drops are in the safest possible pathing. Another drop headed in. Now let's flip to the other side. To Dark. Setting up the drones. Keeping things together. Injects. More hatcheries. With plenty of banelings. Injects again. Vipers out. Looking for consumption. You know, that might be why players choose the hatcheries. Like, you have so little time at this stage of the game to actually be looking at anything but the edges of your creep to drive back the Terrans, that it becomes difficult to choose what to consume with the Vipers. Dark might need to up his scroll speed, and here I am criticizing Dark, but he dragging around the edge of the map. Probably uses drag scroll. More banelings. Just on defense right now. Should be setting up. We're gonna go back to everyone. The human cam. That was a weird way to phrase it. But the normie cam. No, that was just insulting. The battle cam. I like that. That one's good. Where we can get the full picture. In a much more comprehensible sense. There you go. 2-2. Both sides. Honestly, it's been the most passive game thus far. Game 6. It took this long for them to have a standard. Brandon, no, where are you going? God, the pet thing a little off here. Oh my god. High five and the roaches and ravagers on the way out. For moral support. +2 on the way. Continued. Stimming in. Parasitic bomb on the medevacs, but trying to target down the Vipers themselves. He hates 4th bases. He hates them so much. He hates them. And Maru gets another 4th base. Parasitic bomb does not stack it. It does not kill medevacs in a single spell cast. It gets damn close, though, so... Gotta be on the lookout for those corrosive biles. Maru realizing, though, here comes Dark. He's got 100 Zerglings, dozens of Banelings, plenty of Roaches and Ravagers. Here he goes. The siege tank spread is incredible. The upgrade's dead even. The Banshee on the back line. The Banelings are rolling through. Does Maru have enough to stop Dark? Still, more siege tanks. The army is thinning out here. Dark might break through the front line, but there's plenty to back it up. Overall, not enough. He doesn't touch the economy. He doesn't whittle down the medevac count. He might reset some of the tanks. But overall, that's not a trade he can really afford, especially considering Maru actually has more income right now. If Dark he was pounded on 5-6 bases to 3 or 4, sure, you can fight like that over and over. The tower defense Zerg. But when Terran has equal or more income, that's a losing battle. So he tries to change the equation. But Maru? I thought he noticed it. Oh, not again. He noticed it now! The Zerglings are popping out. Unfortunately, no lurkers at all to deal with this. But still, a dangerous game. Here comes Dark. In towards the third, trying to avoid direct confrontation as well he might with 2 spires on the way. But Maru holds strong. It looks like for the first time in this series, we're gonna see Dark reach for the Broodlords. Skipping the Lurkers entirely, and I think it does make sense. Lurkers are a late game unit, but they're not an end game unit. They very simply get countered by mass Ghost Siege Tank. And Maru right now already has great upgrades for Ghost and Siege Tanks, as well as an entrenched position. It's another unit that can really exploit your opponent if they don't yet have that level of control. But Maru simply does. He has 6, 7, 8 command centers. He's maxed out. He's got the composition. It's up to Dark to stop him. Maru. 3-3 about to complete for Dark. He's gonna fight. There's only 1 siege tank on the back line. A lot of bio here. Corrosive Bile actually takes out the Banshee. Neural Parasite on the way. Another round of Ling Bang. Blue Flame done for the Hell Chads. No +3 quite yet. Some of the ghosts getting caught. I believe he has Cloak for them. Indeed he does. As well as setting up some more little details. Burrowed Infestors have won an inordinate amount of games against top-tier Terrans. Just 1 good fungal. Neural Parasite, speaking of, by the way, in production. But Maru adding missile turrets along with his push, providing detection and not costing supply. Just a handful of minerals in a little bit of time. The TPM, the turrets per minute, usually a stat for Bronze League heroes, but Maru been showing a surprising amount of it lately. Zerglings, 101. That's the total. Another Nidus into the main. Finds a tiny spot in between the missile turrets. A single Marauder should be enough to deal with it, even unstimmed. It's gonna be kind of close. +3/+3. Looks like it finishes and then dies immediately. Dark. He's got money in the bank. He's working on those air upgrades. The big Broodlord transition is the direction he wants to go. Maru still has an incredibly cost-effective army, but if anyone's going to break it down into bite-sized pieces, well, the final boss is the one to do it. Parasitic Bomb on the medevac, softening up a lot in the sky. He's not looking to win the game here. He's looking to break enough of Maru's position to overwhelm it later on. And starting to deal with the medevacs, and maybe even forcing more medevac production, makes it more likely that a big Broodlord switch will be successful. Still, though, Maru did a nuclear missile. This one launched at dark space. It's required clarification. High-sec auto-tracking completed. The nuke on the Marauders a little bit, they jumped the gun a bit early. But Dark, going wherever Maru is not. The siege tanks exposed, nothing to protect them. He wipes out half a dozen tanks just like that. Completely clears Maru out of this position. Dark obliterating the SCVs, the planetary. It's gonna be close. It looks like it will be saved at the last moment. Building armor about to complete. It is burning. Repair is there, though. Maru has already brought it up. The Broodlord switch begins. Dark. Reaching for the Lord of the Broods in this late hour. Up against a heavy siege tank. He is still dealing with Broodlord and well, he's still dealing with the Mass Ghost. Broodlord Infestor. The infamous composition of old. And Dark. Once again. An ancient evil. Kind of unfortunate he's actually taken out so many siege tanks. The Broodlords won't be able to use them against the Terrans. Though, always better to just remove them if possible than relying on Maru making a mistake. Some Overseers. Dark closing in yet again. Maru has lost a lot of map control. Dark has held the line. The Broodlords are revealed. And now what? I think we're going to see a dramatic shift in production here. Thor's on the way. +2 mech armor. Smart servos in production. Any more production facilities themselves? He already has a lot of ghosts, which are kind of your catch-all. Whether it's EMPs for the Infestors, snipes for the Broodlords, or just the auto-attack in order to deal with Zerglings and Banelings. Ghosts, quite a staple. Oh, the Broodlords on their own. One ghost is not going to be enough to deal with it. I credit Dark with getting Broodlords nerfed in the patch at the beginning of the year with his infinite Broodling strat. Broodlords are a little bit faster, but the Broodlings last almost barely half the time that they did before. So you can no longer have waves of Broodlings feeding off each other. But slightly more maneuverable. The Ghosts. The reinforcing Nidus, why not? Probably worth the cost. The Terran army, how much? He has 20 Marauders, which is 40 supply of non-anti-air, kind of gumming things up. Marauders are good, but that is a possibly too high a number. Dark again, wiping out the northern flank while mining himself. Dark is grinding out a lot of the map. He doesn't have that much gas in the bank. Maru's been quite cost-effective here. Wow. Only like 3k gas lost so far. I guess neither of them has really committed their most valuable units in these fights. Just some Roaches, Lings, and Banes up against Marines and Marauders. But pretty soon, things are going to get a lot more expensive. The Ghost Thor composition closing in. Looking for, well, a neural parasite revealed on the Thor. He should have predicted it, but the first neural doing quite well. Fungals on the Ghost. EMP finds an opportunity. Still more Fungals. He doesn't land the chain, though. Oh, and lines up the Infestors. Dark has usually solved this problem by having so many Infestors, you never run out of Fungal. He catches one, but the medevac count is so damn high. The Broodlord's being pushed back. Maru not making the mistake of having all his ghosts stuck together with no support. All you have to do is make sure they're in the perfect spot with plenty of coverage and medevacs. And it's not easily said, and it's harder to do. Hydra's on the way. The Broodlord count's still overwhelming. He took out a lot of Infestors. Only one ghost has fallen. And by took out a lot of Infestors, I mean 3, apparently. Both these players keeping their best cards very close to their chest. Not... only 4 Broodlords, and it really looked worse than it was. Dark still near max. Maru about even. Very tense here. Fusion core on the way, but I dare not dream. +3 ranged attack here. Gonna be fully upgraded Broodlords. +3 Flyer Carapace, not quite there, but the Broodlord impact. The first volley when they throw down the Broodling. Very meaningful, especially against Ghosts. Thor Ghost. The Army of Dark, where's the rest? Oh, here it comes. You can see on the minimap. The Broodlords. Looking for an opportunity. Here comes Dark. Look at the close in. EMPs over the top. Trying to find a Fungal. Forces the Ghosts all the way back. There's still plenty of detection. Trying to snipe out the last Overseers. I think Dark realizes it's only Ghosts and Medevacs left at the end of the fight. Dark saw him sniping the Overseers and backed off before he could get the last one. I think a successful fight there. Maru still only has lost he lost 1 more Ghost in that fight. It's now 14 Ghosts and 8 Medevacs. Going to repair them. Dark still. He has the army to be... It's hard to tell, because it feels like Dark is winning these fights, but Maru is maintaining... Well, the core of his army is ghosts. Everything else is expendable, effectively. As long as he doesn't pull a blizzard and get his ghost canceled, then he's going to be at least okay. I don't know if great. It's still very hard to actually fight with just ghosts. They're more of a support unit, a very good support unit. Fake medevac drops from Maru. I think Dark is calling his bluff. And Dark, where's his detection? There's only one overseer. He only has 2 overseers on the map, which is a remarkable oversight, ironically enough. Not having detection against these ghosts. I guess Fungal provides some. But a lot of the Broodlords badly bruised here. Infestor's looking for an opportunity. Doesn't want to EMP just one. And meanwhile, Dark, the rest of the army clearing out the command center to the north. The Broodlords just got to hold the line. That is a lot of Terran. But Maru is again losing his economy back at home. The production being taken out. This has to be the push. This death ball here, such as it is, has to roll over Dark. Otherwise, well, Maru now nuking. He's taking out the equivalent bases on the other side. I don't know why it's only on Maru to rebuild that economy. Dark is now losing a lot of it as well. The nuke will land. For dramatic effect, mostly. Maru. Neither player with a lot of mineral patches left. Ooh. Dark with a little bit less in the bank. He's lost a lot more minerals throughout this, though a nearly equivalent amount of gas. Queens battling against the Liberator. Few more queens this game than last. Actually, no, 6 queens total. That's the number. He lost 3. He has 3 on the field. Thor Ghost. Wow, that is a lot. That is a scaring army right there. Scary Terran indeed. Oh, the snipes. Severely discouraging. That one infestor looking for the most heroic fungal of his career scans, though. Maru. He has 9 orbitals. He can scan most of the map at all times. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration. He gets another infestor. He's just scanning ahead of him, behind him, underneath him. All right. You know what they say. Scan twice, snipe once. As the saying goes. Another planetary undercut by some Zerglings. The Venn diagram of freedom here. The snipes coming out. Maru marches forward. The Broodlords already struggling. Here come the Lings and Banes. The Banelings closing the distance, but not getting to the core of the ghosts. Neural Parasite looking good so far. Finding a lot more snipes. Dark dwindling. Oh, the ghosts, though. The ghosts survived the battle. EMPs looking for more. Maru marching towards his 7th GSL championship. Unrivaled, and he will take it. Maru claims victory 4-2 in one of the most, if not the most dramatic series in StarCraft 2 history. I don't exaggerate. I might clickbait, but do not overestimate. It's impossible to overestimate how good these players are. And at the end of the day, it is Maru who proves yet again that he is the greatest Terran player in the history of StarCraft 2. Fight him on it. A lot have tried. Few have succeeded. Dark, probably the strongest opponent outside of Finland that he could have faced. Dark putting up an incredible fight. So many of those games were maybe 1 or 2 fights away from turning around. Even that last one. But at the end of the day, it is the man, the myth, the Maru, who takes home his 7th GSL championship. Already a millionaire in winnings. We'll add even more to it. Just like I want to thank you for adding even more likes and subscribes. That was a poor segue. But thank you again to GSL for sending out the games. Thank you for watching. I hope I made your day a little bit better. I hope you agree that this was one of the most exciting finals of all time. Thank you for making it to the end. Just give me a thumbs up comment. If you made it this far, you're like, I don't like making comments because there's nothing left to say. That was some good games for the fans. Can't believe Maru nuked his own base. Come on, what are you doing, Maru? Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Stay chill.
Hell, it's about